All right, so Cameron Smith is requesting Phase 2 of Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat for Prices Creek. He's proposing 48 townhomes on approximately 17 acres. And here is a look at the preliminary plat itself. I'm not going to go through the whole process. It's exactly the same as the one that you for Oakton and where we are in the same spot. So this gives you an outline. It shows you the buildings. It's going to be 12 quadruplex that will make up the 48 units. He meets the 25-foot peripheral setback and for planned unit developments, and they're utilizing the zero lot line for these units as well. So just to give you an idea, here we are. The Prices Creek, as I said, is a planned unit development. Surrounding it, we've got some, the first phase of Prices Creek. We've got some other single-family residential, and across the street there's some vacant light industrial.
I'm sorry,
No,
Mud.
thank you. I apologize. So like I said, so there's vacant light industrial right above it, and there's this assisted living facility right in this area as well. Wanted to go over just a brief few things, just to kind of to go through it. This is the landscape and tree mitigation. They are really preserving a lot of the trees that are available and only removing those ones from the building footprints as necessary, as well as in the right-of-ways, the roads for the grading. So they have met their mitigation. One thing I would like to note that they do have the 6 acres of open space, which exceeds the requirement. And they are doing a lot of the planting along Rob Gandy here. I'm sorry, this is along Rob Gandy. While there isn't a buffer necessary or required, it will help with the traffic on this road, as well as if there's any future development on this light industrial, just an extra buffer, because the light industrial would be required to do a buffer as well. So just wanted to note that. The other thing to note is that this is a low-density stormwater project, so they are not required to be equipped with stormwater control measures like a pond. They must be designed to meet the low-density requirements from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. So that includes they have to be less than 24% impervious. You have to have dispersed flows with vegetative swales and curb outlet systems. And I have noted on his drainage plan here, let's see, the blue circles are the swells, and then the smaller green circles, right there, those are the other curb cuts that will bring the water through these vegetated areas for infiltration. And also, I'm sorry, here are some examples. This from the DEQ's website. So this is what a curb cut example is, and then your vegetative swales up here. So we are recommending, let's see, where's my recommendation? Recommending this proposal for the planning board to recommend to the Board of Aldermen in accordance with the standards and processes laid out. We would like to make it a conditional approval, because there were just a few things that we wanted to make sure. One was the determination of any sewer improvements that need to be made. Right now, they're doing a sewer capacity study, and so the consultants will be coming back with some improvements that will maybe need to be made before this is done. A provision of the dimensions and descriptions of the open space. While it is on one of the sheets, it needs to be on the preliminary plat sheet itself. That's just kind of a housekeeping thing. We do need to have the lighting plan that will be coming, but that can be will be inspected with the installation prior to final plat. And then there were a couple of the certificates for preliminary plats that needed to be, again, that's the kind of a housekeeping item that we need to be added prior to, but otherwise everything else is in conformance. And Cameron is here this evening if you have any questions for the applicant or myself.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Smith or Mo? Normally, I believe for this type of application, normally we would be setting up a review committee to go through this, but Travis, I believe we're implementing new policy about this. Would you explain that, please?
Well, so sure. I'd like to, this is a request and to try something new. And this is on behalf of our city manager who has communicated with our new city attorney, and also, of course, we'll be having a special meeting with the attorney and a joint session with the alderman regarding planning in a couple weeks on the 30th. So the request is certainly if the planning board, if it's their desire to table this for additional review, that is certainly more than well within your right to do it. What I am asking is to forego establishing a committee and the full planning board reviewing the project together. And providing, if there's any questions or feedback that the board could provide now to staff or to Mr. Smith, we'd certainly appreciate that. Or if the board would desire to table the case to either the next meeting or provide direction to staff to, specific items to address, and then staff bring it back when it's ready. You've got a number of options available to you, but it's the request, via city manager and also from development services that the planning board work towards reviewing proposals together as one board. And the reason for that is primarily because this is a 7-person board for a reason, and each of you have your own expertise that makes you a valuable asset to the board, and it's at its most effective when all of you are together, as opposed to small subsets of you reviewing individual projects. There's absolutely nothing at all wrong or in any other way, not correct with the level of review that is occurring on these projects. That's not at all what we're suggesting. We just are asking that we try it as a full board instead of in a committee. I do understand that at this point, this may make the process slower because a committee meeting may not happen between now or this would go to the next agenda. But long term, as Mo and myself, and we're continuing to modernize the Development Services Department and the way planning is done in the city of Southport. In an ideal world, these administrative projects are going to be coming to you all complete and ready to rock and roll as if it could be approved that night. I'm not saying that I expect that to happen, but quite frankly, that's the level of work that this board, that the alderman, that the city manager, that the public should expect that staff is putting in on these projects. And that's the standard that we will be living up to.
I would comment to this that I think that's a great idea. We've not, as I said earlier, we've not always had the level of expertise that would bring projects to this board without a lot of work still to be done on it, to where things got thrown to committee. So I think we've seen just in this packet tonight, the level of information that's provided to us. I don't know that we've ever had this much information provided in our packets for staff's work to already be done. I see that as an improvement for us to all be able to review these projects and communicate on them, bring out thoughts that we might not be able to get out of a committee meeting, even if it does slow down the process. I think to do these in this transparency in these meetings, I see that as that being an improvement for us. My 2 cents on it. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with her I'm going to agree with the chair on that. For another facet about it too is that the location of it, and it gives us a little bit of option for, since staff's trying to work this out, that we can make adjustments to how we approach this, because where it's located, there really isn't a huge impact, because the area it is off of Rob Gandy, and so it's not like it's in the middle of town. It's not in the central business district. It's not. So it's something that we could actually hone our skills with, and come out with a positive outcome. So I would agree with you on that as well. Yeah.
Anyone else? With that being said, then, do I hear a motion that we table this discussion for review?
Well, the only thing I would say is that if there are questions or comments or anything the board wants to make that you have now, certainly feel free.
Absolutely.
So what's the future recreation area?
That's a really good question. One that I have not determined yet. We don't know. We know we have a nice little area to do something in. We're not sure exactly.
Mr. Smith, would you be willing to come up to the microphone? I'm sorry.
Probably grateful to get up after all this time, aren't you?
Okay. We're unsure at this point exactly what that will look like, other than we have a nice area it's a beautiful little ridge that goes down into that lower area to do something with. We don't know exactly what that will be.
I don't see a tree survey on here, but I know that you were part of the conversations when we were discussing the new ordinance, and I didn't know if you're saving a lot from the looks of it, and I didn't know if the credit thing was applied here. And I guess maybe this is a question from over Travis, but
There was a tree survey. There were no live oak. There were 3 live oaks that were removed within the grading section.
okay.
Otherwise, there were no other live oaks to be retained in general.
So going back to the impervious surface in the swells, we said swell, but they're spelled S-W-A-L-E. Swell? Swales?
Yeah.
I
Sounds
come
like
from
Southern.
Appalachia.
Yeah, swale,
Swale.
like whale, but with an S. Yeah.
So, can you touch on that one point again, why there is no, I guess maybe it's just me trying to understand the difference between a swale. I can't say it without.
Did you want to discuss that?
I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay.
So
honestly.
the difference
so-
between why some properties are required to have a retention ponds and stormwater treatment, and then this property has that.
It has to do with the percentage of impervious that we're able to meet. We're able to be under the percentage that allows us to do a low density. Some of the other projects that have ponds, we're not able to have more impervious surfaces, and we're not able to meet the low density requirement. Is maybe part of the reason. I mean, that might not be the whole reason, but.
Are the roads eventually going to go back to Southport, or is that even part of the conversation?
I hope so. That's my intent. Yes.
And I guess with that, Firefly Lane that leads into the original Prices Creek neighborhood, those are private roads now, right?
They are right now, yes.
Okay. So how does that work? Because I know that sort of that bottom access is currently it's like a dumping ground for people who live in Prices Creek, who put all their debris and stuff back there. So would it be both Prices Creek original and the new neighborhood, both roads would be given back to the city, is the intent, or just this development?
I know that the cottages at Prices Creek
Cottages, that's right.
would like to eventually turn their roads over to the city, and that's an ongoing discussion with that community. As far as what I'm doing with this phase, part of it does come off Rob Gandy. Yes, it does connect to Firefly, but I would think that it could still be, the roads that I would be putting in could still be turned over to the city, since it does have another entrance.
Okay. Can you talk about the sewer impact side of it? Because I know there was conversation about that end of town, and I say that end of town, but having the capacity and.
Ongoing communications on that. There is some capacity. I don't know that it's enough for the whole development. This is something that, it takes a long time to develop a project like this, just to get the utility contractors to come and do the work. So it's going to be something that evolves over time. And my hope is that over time, I'll have the capacity to do the whole neighborhood. Right now, it may just be part of it, but those are ongoing discussions that we'll continue to have. And I think there's a study going on now that will bring more to light, and there are improvements being made that will hopefully help as well.
So it sounds like it almost be built out in phases where you may have a few number of buildings that could be tied in, and then you just have to wait to the city to kind of give you a thumbs up to build out the rest, maybe?
If that's the way it can work, I plan on developing it in a couple of phases. And I'll be doing the building, and I'm not a fast builder, so it's not like it's going to just boom and pop up overnight. It'll evolve over time.
And these townhomes are quadplexes, I think Mo called them. They're more of akin to what is on 13th Street, 14th?
Similar, those are quadruplexes. These are going to be, I'm envisioning a little bit smaller and a little bit more price conscious than those. I'm hoping it'll be a little different product, but similar.
Okay. That's all I got.
With regard to the sewer, it really just kind of so happened that as Mr. Smith brought forward his project, the city was already involved in, as probably everybody in this room knows, a number of different studies and projects with regard to sewer, and one of them involved the area right outside of this project. So it just kind of worked out, and then through the TRC conversations, they've been looped in, and we're anticipating the results of that study. I mean, at one point, we thought we were going to have it already, and it just, the way things go, we don't have it yet, but we're anticipating it any day now. And then that'll tell us a lot about how we, what we're doing generally, not just related to this project, so.
I got another question. So that road turnaround, whatever you want to call it, it's right above the future recreation area. Is that for, I guess, people to turn around? Is that right?
Well, and
Is that required, I guess?
to allow us to be able to build the future recreation area, whatever we're going to do. We have to have access to it, so that will allow us to actually be able to do it and give access to vehicles to get to it in the future. and to turn around at that end of the street for emergency vehicles. It's the same purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a fire code requirement as well.
Anyone else? Thank you, Cam.
Okay.
Appreciate it. If you'll hit that button again and turn that
sure.
mic off. Thank you. Okay, so at this point then, do I hear a motion that we table this for further conversation? Thank you, Donnie. Got a motion, is there a second? Second. We have a motion on the floor. Any final discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Other business. Do we need anything from, any comments from staff on any updates on any of our other pending projects?
There's a lot of pending projects out there. You know, there's not much in the way of new updates to give. I don't recall any significant project. The Board of Adjustment is going to be meeting this month for the first time in some time for a variance request. Historic Preservation Commission is still rocking and rolling on inventories, and eventually a text amendment to the UDO will come before this board, and that may or may not take the form of a joint session between the HPC and this board. We're still kind of shakes out on how quickly and what exactly they come to from a recommendation standpoint. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Cheyenne back there, who has been here filming this entire thing. And so I want to make sure that she's acknowledged and she's thanked by staff for helping us out and making sure that these planning board meetings are live streamed as well.
We do appreciate that. That's something that I think is much needed for folks to be able to go back and look at this when they've not been able to attend or do the live stream elsewhere. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate getting that in place. Any other business?
There was something I wanted to touch on, and I'm not sure if this is in the form of creating a committee or asking the staff for a recommendation, but it was around updating the table of uses regarding, I don't know what to call it or how to frame it, so the sort of cannabis CBD area or CBD medicines, or I know with the current piece of legislation that's within the House right now, the possibility of legalized marijuana, and whether or not we want to create a table of use around that and defining what districts uses like that belong in. And so again, I don't know if that's a committee that sort of puts that together, but I think it would just be one thing to get ahead of rather than be reactive to.
Let's correct that to say medical marijuana. Could already see the little cloud going over the town.
I don't know what I said.
You just said use of marijuana. So let's qualify that there's a bill in the General Assembly for use of medical marijuana. So how, Travis, do you want to address how we would do that?
To me, I think there's a couple different ways we could go about it. I'm more than happy for staff to take the initial shot at this, and we'll, if nothing else, make for interesting fodder for the planning listservs around the state. But no, I agree that this is something that's like everything in planning. It's being proactive about it is way better than being reactive to it. So we'll take a first stab at it. We'll have it as a I guess a discussion item for the next agenda. There's no reason why we couldn't have it turned around that quickly, and we'll bring you some ideas and some thoughts, and then from there, the planning board can do with it what it may.
Excellent, okay, so we're gonna ask staff then to do that research and come back with recommendations for that. I guess as part of this, we always have our members' table and the attendance record in the back of our packets. I would like to ask again, Tanya, if you can take this forward. I think we still need to get the terms correct on the member roster, okay? Fred's recent appointment as in-city, he should be carrying the expiration date that Mo had on her term. Mo, do you remember what that was? This is not a test. Okay. Okay. And then we've got the 2 vacant seats right now. The in-city that Mr. Mabelli was in, that is supposed to be October of 2023. And then the city alternate that Fred left is an August expiration on it. That's something that we wanted to get corrected, that the expirations go with the seat, not as people move, that the bodies move in and out of those seats, that it goes with the actual seat. So we've got those tables and the attendance records in the back as usual. In announcements from anyone? Donnie, not a thing? We miss it.
I'll take his spot.
Go ahead.
Just again, a reminder about the joint session with the aldermen on March 30th in this room, same bat time, same bat channel, and very much looking forward to that. Our new city attorney, Brady Herman, is going to take us on a planning adventure. And the other thing I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank Mayor Hodgen, or Madam Chair Hodgen, excuse me, wow. I have been up far too long today. Madam Chair Hodgen and Mr. Jones for what you said during the conditional zoning. But I also wanted to thank all of the public, everyone, particularly those of you who are still here, but everyone who showed up tonight. This is why the planning board called the hearing for this. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is why the planning board called the hearing, and also, thank you. The Southport Symposium series that has been going on. First, it was the city manager and HR and Animal Protective Services. Then Community Relations went. What was that, earlier this week? And Monday. So next is me and Mo and Development Services, and I'm sure no one is interested in that, and no one will be there. So if you haven't yet signed up for it, and you're watching or you're here, sign up for it. There's only 50 slots, so
the date is?
The date is April 17th. It's a Monday. It's the same week of our planning board meeting. At 2 p.m. till whenever we're done. And yeah. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I think we've got some good ideas. We've got good ways to make sure that I'm not the only one talking, because that's usually better for things if I'm not the only one talking. And I'm looking forward to it. And something to be thinking about is that part of that will be coming up with a new name for Development Services. So if you have thoughts on that, let me know that too.
Excellent.
And I'm done.
Any other announcements? No announcements, no other business. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Woo, that was unanimous right there, wasn't it? A second? Second. Motion on the floor. Any final discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We thank everyone for attending, and I am adjourning us at 9:36.